So how should we start? Damn, we haven't podcasted in like forever.
I know, it's been a minute. It's been a little while.
And it's been a while.
It's been a while. It has been a while since we've done this.
Yeah.
I think this is how we should start it, though.
Okay. Saying that it's been a while.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just a kind of a random start.
Yeah.
No introduction.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. But now we have a sign.
Yeah, we have a sign.
So, you know the name of it.
Our podcast is called Hanging Out Forever. Why, Grant?
Well, in the beginning of our relationship, you know, we would have conversations about marriage and her fears of marriage.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't really have, I guess, strong opinions on marriage. You know, I didn't really need it one way or the other, but it definitely freaked her out, the idea of marriage.
Yeah.
And kind of, you know, getting married and being committed in that way forever, you know? So I was like, one day, I don't even remember what the context was, but I was just kind of being like, you know, well, I mean, we don't have to get married if you don't want to get married, you know? That's not like a make or break thing for me. So, I mean, we can just hang out forever. That sounds nice.
Which
you
is
know?
super cute.
Yeah. And so I was like, okay, hang out forever. I like that. And you were like, yeah, I like that, you know, so.
Yeah, it removed the pressure, and I really liked that. But you know what I don't like? Not having my nose ring in. Let me go get it real quick. I don't even want to break camera. We're not going to break camera. Just you talk, and let me go get my nose ring.
Is it?
Just talk.
Just talk. All right.
You think I lost it?
Just going and getting your nose ring. It's constantly missing, by the way. The nose ring is constantly missing. And I usually find it engraved into my back in the bed when I ingrained into my back when I wake up in the morning.
Okay, I'm just going to push it in. I just feel like I don't look as cute without it. It's ridiculous.
It's not something that anybody would probably notice, but
people are going to be like, there's literally a hole in your nose.
Yeah.
Something's supposed to plug that.
Something's supposed to plug that.
Yeah.
But yeah. So that's how we got the name Hanging Out Forever. That is the name of our podcast. It's legitimate. We got a sign made.
Yeah.
That's the name.
And even though our podcast is called Hanging Out Forever, we have been doing, you know, we've been having a very hard time just hanging on in general.
Yeah.
Hanging on in general.
Yeah. You know, it's been
a hell
of a year. It was really good in the beginning of the year.
Yeah.
And I think we're just going to kind of use this episode. Maybe if we put this episode out.
Yeah.
We're just going to kind of use this as just kind of a conversation that we can have. And, you know, we always said that doing the podcast together has been therapeutic for us. And I think that we're probably going to just use it right now for that, you know?
Yeah. And I would also add that I think that we need like the idea or the concept or the infrastructure of something therapeutic for our relationship now more than ever.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So.
I think that, you know, I think in the beginning of the year, we kind of went into the year on the same page.
Yeah.
Really happy, really excited for the future, really excited to be with one another, you know? And then I think that life kind of has been hitting us harder than ever recently.
Mm-hmm.
And the pressures of life and the pressures of the future, you know, have really been hitting us. You know, and I think that we both have high expectations for the future. And I think that you have been just doing a really like a great job of setting yourself up and setting things up for the future. And I think that I'm in a place where I'm trying to catch up to you in that way of where I'm trying to do my share of setting things up and setting myself up and setting our relationship up and setting us up to get to the next level. But I think it's harder for me to set things up, you know, because I think that the way that your mind works, the way that you go about doing things, the way that you, plan, the way that you organize, the way that you study things is a lot different than how I do it.
Mm-hmm.
And your way is obviously more efficient. And I think that there's been a lot of friction because of that imbalance.
Mm-hmm. And I think that like, just for like backstory to anybody that doesn't know us, we've been together for, I always like to just point to you
almost
for some reason.
7 years.
Yeah. Almost 7 years. And, I feel like at the beginning of the relationship, I totally agree. I mean, at the year 2023, I felt like so happy to be with you. We had like a huge fight over New Year's because this guy wouldn't let me get pizza and cake for New Year's.
Oh yeah.
Tell me no on vacation. That's just, this is crazy. Okay, well, whatever.
But it's not like I like restrict her diet or something like that. You made that sound a little crazy. But it was just a situation
he told me that he
where
didn't want me to gain
we were
weight.
going to stop. Gonna get me canceled. Jesus Christ. I did not say any of that, by the way.
He didn't say that.
I didn't say any of that.
He's
But
so mad.
it was a situation where we were going from location to location and she wanted to like buy something from every location. I was like, no, at the end location, we're going to a grocery store where it will have all these things you want. So we can do a one-stop situation.
And then it didn't have one of the things that I really wanted, and I fucking lost my mind.
And then it ended up not having the things that she wanted, which was just made me look like shit.
Yeah.
But that was a fight that we had, yeah. And it was like kind of like, me controlling the situation. And we had a fight about me controlling things and stuff.
Which Grant tends to do on vacation. It is insane. Mm-hmm. Like when we're on vacation, instead of you just being like, yeah, whatever everybody wants, like totally, you're like, no, this. And I'm like, but but that's besides the point. The vacation is besides the point.
Yeah.
You don't think you like that on vacation?
No, I was going to say, I don't know why I was so like,
oh yeah,
strict on the scheduling and stuff. It was kind of,
I didn't appreciate that because I was like, well, next time we come out here, because we were in Arizona, that's where his family is. I was like, well, next time we come out here, I need to rent a car and you're going to buy it for me since you want to give me so much hell about where I want to go and like the things I want to eat and what I want to try.
And what I want to do.
Yeah, and what I want to do. But it's never about like him being like, oh yeah, you're overweight. That was obviously a joke because I've been like 170 something pounds. And Grant was like, you look great. And I'm like, this fucking guy.
Yeah, no, I would never like.
No, you're
that's
super
just being a tyrant or something.
No, you're really
like
supportive of my body
crazy.
and my physical being. But like, as it pertains to the beginning of our 2023 year, I feel like we went into January like so blissfully. Like it just felt like, yeah, like this guy, babies with this guy, marriage with this guy, a future with this guy.
Looked so clear.
Yeah, it felt like super clear. And then I think that honestly, and I don't think I've told you this, we've been talking about getting engaged a lot recently.
Yeah.
And I want to say that it kind of started around January. Around January, we started kind of really
like
talking about it.
Talks about it.
And that's when I realized like, I started getting really analytical then because I was like, there are so many traits. Like there's this trait and this trait and this trait and this trait. And like, can I be married to these traits? Especially when they're all things that I've talked to you about throughout the entirety of our relationship. And so like going into this year, knowing that like us getting engaged is somewhat, I don't know like when it's going to happen, obviously, but it feels more inevitable now. And that started to scare me. And I was listening to a TED Talk today and I listened to like, I went on YouTube this morning and I Googled a bunch of things, like, how do you know when your relationship is over and blah, blah, blah. And one of the things was like, well, the first way you know your relationship is over is you're watching this video. And I was like, fuck you. You don't know what you're talking about.
Damn, really?
Yeah, no, yeah. That's what she said. She was like, the first thing you know your relationship is over, you're watching this video. Welcome.
Wow.
And so, why?
What was the name of the video?
Like how you know your relationship is over or something like that.
Okay.
And so I was listening to these YouTubes while I was in the shower, like really thinking, because last night we had like a really deep kind of like what felt like was going to be a breakup fight. And so when I woke up this morning, I know we resolved it and we can get into that later, but like I realized I'm not going out without a fight in this. And I often really know that I put the fighting onto you, because I fight in my own way, because I fight to like create a future for us and create financial goals for us and like figure out our taxes and create like a health plan structure. Like you make sure we're healthy and we're eating good, but I'm like calling the insurance and getting us insurance and, doing these doctor's appointments for us and things like that. And I understand that those are my roles, but I think one of my greatest fears is that these will become so innate to what you expect from me in our relationship that you won't then be able to pick up and do them on your own. And so when I started to think about all the things that I do that are very like life building, getting my money together, getting my credit together, like understanding housing programs that I need to be in because I want a house, and then feeling like you're not on that same page with me or like on that same level to where you could write. I mean, I can't get a house right now, but I'm close, sir. Yeah. Not close, but I'm closer.
You're pretty close.
I don't know. Like the house I want, the down payment is crazy. So really, I'm not close.
Yeah, you could definitely get a house.
I could get a house in Atlanta for sure.
Yeah.
Or like someplace. I used to say that I'm Atlanta rich, but I'm LA poor. But now Atlanta's all gentrified to hell and it's super expensive out there. So now I'm Atlanta poor and LA poor, but I'm Alabama rich. Alabama balling out of control.
Yeah, so, exactly.
But yeah, like starting to think about like our relationship in that context and just kind of knowing that I'm so quick and I'm so fast to figuring things out.
Yeah, you are.
And then feeling burdened by like, fuck, like what if we have kids? Am I going to be the one that's really trying to figure things out? And I know that both of us have our strengths and our weaknesses. But I realized that me starting to freak out about us getting engaged, it's really been like up and down from there. But ever since I started thinking about it seriously, it's pretty much just generally been more downward than it has been upward for us. Yeah. And I think that I thought about our relationship in the context of like, yeah, I could do this forever. But I was thinking about that forever in the framework of low stakes. You know what I mean? Like I could totally be your girlfriend and date you forever. But now I'm thinking about being your fiance and I'm like, well, these are things that I want out of an engaged man or a man that's engaged to me. Yeah. And like, okay, the next step is husbandry. And like you being a husband, and these are the steps and things I want and expect out of a husband. Yeah. And like, are you at an engagement phase? Are you at a fiance phase? Are you at a husband phase? But then I also have to be real. Like, am I at those things?
And we've had conversations about that of like, do we feel like we're in those stages or have we taken that next step to be in like a fiance step or a fiance stage?
Yeah.
And, I think we've had like mixed conversations about it. We've had conversations where we do feel that way. Because I think that the fact that we're having like any of these concerns, like, and you even said it, is like, because there are more stakes now, like you feel it, that there are more stakes. So it's like, I feel like we are at the cusp of, at the highest cusp of the boyfriend girlfriend stage. And we're kind of in a transition into, like fiance stage,
Yeah.
And I think that it is scary, and it is like, you like analyze every little thing. So it's like, you're going to kind of like pinpoint all these different things that are not right or that you wouldn't prefer, and I understand that. And I mean, I feel a lot of pressure, from it, obviously. And so it does, sometimes that pressure makes it hard for me to perform in that type of way, and probably a way that you would prefer me to perform, but I also don't want to use that as like an excuse or something, because I could definitely be performing more, I acknowledge that as well. But, I think that it really is. And I think that over the past couple of days, because we've really been having these conversations and these arguments, and, we've just been like really talking about exactly what we want, and like, do we want to keep trying? Do we want to keep like putting in the work and putting in the effort? And, I mean, like my answer is yes, I do, and I want to keep finding ways of where I can help push myself and, make sure that I'm still setting myself up to be on track with these things, because I want all the same things you do as well. It's just like when you want something, you know exactly where you're going and what you're doing, and you know exactly what to look for and what you want. I think that I'm different in that way of like, it takes me a little bit of time to figure things out, to figure out the steps to how to move forward, and I understand that can be frustrating, especially to a person who she knows, like, every step that you're going to make next, and I just don't have that mental list or schedule of things of like that I know I want to do, like I have these goals and things that I'm working on now and things that I'm pursuing, and I am happy where I'm going, but when it comes to the level that you're working at and the level that you're getting these things like taken care of and done, I feel a lot of pressure, like being on that level or like not being on that level. And I think that has been our biggest friction, that's been the thing, like, cause it's like your whole thing is basically like, well, I'm here, I'm on this level, I'm ready to go. Like, where are you at? Like, you're not here with me, and I can understand that frustration. I can understand like how you see the relationship in that way, of like, I'm not there with you. So you're kind of like, well, I'm just going to keep going. I'm just going to leave you in the dust, you know? And I think that the conversation we had last night was kind of like a conversation of, like, I do want us to move together. I want us to figure it out and come to a, meet each other halfway, be on the same page. And that's all that I want to, is for us to be on the same page. And obviously I want to get to your level, but you do have you're so many steps ahead of me, in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
And, but that's not that doesn't mean that I don't bring a lot to this relationship as well. Like, I think that I bring a lot of things to this relationship. You bring a lot of things to this relationship. Just our demeanors in general, just like the way that we are, the type of people we are, I think is such a good dynamic for one another, because, you help push me to like get out of my shell, to really like strive towards things. And I think that I help you in a way of like, I make you, just you, cause sometimes you can be so like, go, that I kind of help you like relax, be patient. I bring
teach me how to breathe.
Yeah. Teach you how to breathe, how to like fully understand, just kind of take a step back in some time. Cause sometimes you do need to take a step back. You can't just always be go, because you might miss things.
Yeah.
So,
and I think that like, to your point about like, you wanted to be on my level, and, even saying that I'm here, either get with it or get left in the dust. I've explained this to you a few times, where it just feels like throughout our, I would say year two is probably where I started taking our relationship serious, where I was like, I like this guy actually, but year 3 is probably where I was like really trying to put in like the same work to you that I had within myself. So like, hey, let's get this going. Like, hey, let's get the savings. Hey, let's get the credit. Hey, let's blah, blah. And so when you, after 7 years, it doesn't feel like you're where I am or like closer to where I am. It is frustrating, because it sometimes feels like you don't want to be. And I interpret that as resistance, and that hurts my feelings, because ultimately, like, I love you and I want to be with you. And I really feel like I've put so much like into you, and I know that you feel the same way, but sometimes
but I'm definitely not where I was year 3. Like,
that's true.
There's like so many differences, so many changes that were made since then. I understand like the fact of like, yes, I could have been taking things like more seriously and planning more, but in a lot of different ways, like I did take a lot of things seriously.
Yeah.
And I did begin to plan more, and that did light a fire under me. The conversations that we would have then, and like the arguments that we would have then and stuff, and I think I've grown in so many ways since year 3 that you can't even like compare me to like year 3.
I'm not comparing you to year 3. So
yeah.
I'm not saying like, oh, you're year 7, you're the same as year 3.
Yeah.
I'm using year 3 as a benchmark for how long I've been trying, that I feel like I've been trying to be like, hey, like, let's get all these things in line so that we can be close to the finish line together, or to whatever these goals are together. It's not that I think that I don't, like, you have grown a lot. 100% you've grown like astronomically, essentially, from where you were when we first started dating. It's just that sometimes that astronomical difference doesn't really feel like it's yet enough to get us to where we need to be.
Well, because you were growing too. So like we were like this, and it's kind of just been going up like this. You know what I mean? Like I'm growing, but you're growing at the same pace. Just, you know what I mean? You were already above. So like,
yeah,
I think that we're kind of growing like that.
I don't mean to make it seem like I'm disparaging you.
No, it's fine.
No, it's not fine, because I'm getting a vibe
saying,
and I don't want you to feel like I'm like just like dragging you under the bus, because that's what I don't want. And that's something that I need to figure out within myself, is like, I have a really hard time empowering people who I feel like I've tried to empower and I just don't know what to do now. And and like even you saying like you need to be motivated, I don't think that I know how to like always motivate through positive reinforcement, because if I'm like, you can do it, I love you, I love you, I love you, and then I don't feel like I'm getting I don't feel like my words or my motivation is being received, then I am like, okay, well, positive reinforcement clearly ain't working, let me be a dick, and then I'm like, I don't believe that you could do it, blah blah blah, but like, I want you to prove me wrong, and even in the talk that we had last night, I was like, do you want to stay together? It was like one of those late night talks, y'all, like one of those laying on your back, tears are streaming down your face, soaking your pillow,
looking up to the ceiling,
getting lost in the ceiling, in the ceiling of space.
That's how I felt.
Yeah. And I was like, are you going to cry? And you're like, no. I was like, damn, I was bawling out of control. My nose was stuffy.
I just like
eyes was puffy as hell.
I was like tired as hell, but I was also just like I felt like numb last night.
Yeah.
I don't know what it was. I just felt numb. I couldn't feel anything. No, that's not. But I just, I don't know. It felt like surreal almost.
Yeah. And I mean, it's not the first time we've had one of those, like, are we going to break up kind of conversations? But I don't know. Every time we have one in that exact same circumstance, like in the bed, on the back, falling into the ceiling of space, it always feels more real than the last time. And I remember being like, do you want to break up? And you're like, I don't know. And I really wanted you to just say no. But then I realized like how hard it must be for you to always have to be the one that says no. And for me to seem like I'm always the first one to throw it away and move on. And so like it took me a lot to be like, I don't want to give up. It took me almost everything that I had left last night to say, I refuse to give up until we've exhausted our resources, until we've gone to therapy, until we've talked on the podcast.
Yeah, I feel like that was kind of a switched like personality role last night, because I'm usually the one that, and we always that's what I mean about like our different personalities, sometimes they clash in certain ways. Yeah. But a lot of the time they pull us through things, like they pull us through like these arguments or these conversations we have of where we're not sure if we want to continue on. And then, I'm usually the one that's kind of like, no, I want us to fight.
Yeah.
I want us to do whatever we have to do. Like, I want us to communicate. I want us to figure this out, where it's by that time you're kind of like done and you're, have kind of pushed me away and dismissive. And I'm usually the one that's like really pushing for us and fighting. And I always say that, like, I see the light at the end of the tunnel. Like I always do. I always see the light at the end of the tunnel. In these moments where we have these arguments, I don't think of our entire relationship in this like singular moment, like I think of our relationship as a whole, and like the majority of that whole is just like all this growth we've had, this amazing bond we have, this partnership that we've created that is, just an amazing partnership. And I think of that in those moments, but I don't know. Last night I was just I think it's just been so hard.
It's been
for the past like month. We have just been
not on the same page.
Not
really.
on the same page.
And then we get on the same page and then we miss the page.
We try to we'll force ourselves to communicate about it. And then I feel like we just get nowhere. Like we haven't been getting anywhere. But I was saying, it's funny because like, I feel like the conversation we had last night was probably like one of the shortest conversations we've had. Like it was just kind of like, it wasn't really.
I felt like it was going on forever.
It wasn't that long of a conversation, but it got like, it was so like in depth, like it really kind of covered a lot.
Yeah.
For some reason, I don't know why, but I felt like this kind of, every time that we have like these arguments and we like get through it, I feel this sense of like refreshness, and just kind of, I feel this, restart, and it feels like a whole new page that we can a whole new blank page that we can start together, and it just feels like we've worked things out and we are back on the same page, and I feel like that, like today I feel that, from the conversation last night.
Excuse me. Yeah, I also feel like, I guess I'm more hesitant to say that we're back on the same page definitively.
Yeah.
Because my fear is with you and with us is that I am concerned and often nervous that when you feel like we're back on the same page, what happens to all that progress that we made in our conversation?
It's not really, because I still feel that too. It's not so much as we're back on the same page, but there is like some feeling of like relief that I have.
Yeah.
From the conversation last night. And then, like some of the things we talked about was kind of like, some of the things that you were saying was that you don't want to give up.
Yeah.
You don't want to give up on this. Like, and the thing that I've been kind of bringing up the past like few days that we had been having conversations was, I want to do whatever we can do. And I was never like the biggest fan of therapy, and that was a whole thing. And,
because I've been talking about that for years.
Yeah. You've been talking about therapy forever. And so I've never been a big fan of therapy. And, but now I just feel like at this point, like I'm willing to do and try whatever we may need to try. So if therapy is one of those things, then I'm open to doing therapy. I'm open to doing couples therapy. I'm open to doing, solo therapy. Like,
I think I also need solo therapy too.
Yeah.
And a lot of the hangups that I have in our relationship obviously like stem from my childhood. And we had two very different childhoods, not just because like obviously we're racially different, but socioeconomically, I grew up experiencing a lot of fluctuation. And so like needing that level of stability and like knowing where we're going is really important to me, because my biggest fear is like waking up and not having a house anymore. Or waking up and my furniture is gone again. Like I cannot even think about going through those things again. And like, I've always been like middle class, upper middle class, but everybody falls on hard times. And those hard times were like super, traumatic for me. And then also like my parents' marriage, when I think about like locking into a partnership or a marriage, my biggest fear is that I would have chosen wrong, or that I thought this guy was the one and then he wasn't. Or because I mean, for me as a woman, I don't know how many other women think this way, but all the women that I know think this way. Love is not enough. And I think that that's where we differ also personality wise, is because you're very, very love based and I'm like money based and finance based and structure based, infrastructure based, foundation based.
Yeah. Stability.
Yeah. And then I think that you have like this concept because your parents have been together like your whole life. You've lived in the same house your whole life. You have the same friends your whole life. I don't have any of that. Yeah. I have been able to just see that all of a sudden that shit is there. And then it's gone 2 seconds later. And then this thing that you thought was like a family or like a life or like your forever childhood home, like those things, they go away and you don't
understand. Why?
Well, you don't understand why, but then I think maybe also there was like a dynamic where I stopped feeling like I deserved to have these kinds of things because
Mhm.
like we could never keep them.
Mhm.
And like one of the things that we were fighting about recently, I think this was like 3 weeks ago, and we were having one of our other fights, and you were like, well, I want to keep fighting because I love you and blah, 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 blah. And I said that you don't always get to keep the things you fight for.
Mhm.
You know, like I've watched my parents fight for things that we never got to keep. And I think that there's a huge part of me that refuses to, here comes the cat.
There we go. Go ahead.
There she is. There is a huge part of me that refuses to go through anything like that again.
Yeah.
And in these later episodes, I'll get deeper into what it is. You know, I'm not like shy to talk about it or whatever, but when we talk about like stability, I wonder if fundamentally stability to me means something different than it means to you. I think to you it means like married for 30 years, still together, like having kids. Whereas to me, I'm like, where's the money? How's the money doing?
Well,
Because
I
that
think
facilitates like
that
love and a lot of, because you know, most relationships, they fail because of finances.
Yeah, I'm like 100% aware that that stuff is important, you know. But I do think that there is like a middle ground there of you know, making sure that the stability is there, the finances are there, but also that love is there too, you know, and that like that fight is there, that fight for one another, you know, and um I think that you can't just band-aid things with money every time, you know. Like I think that
Yeah.
you know, I think that money is very important, obviously. Like fucking love money. But I love getting that shit. But you know, it's super important, but it doesn't always fix everything. And I think that there is stability in finances, but there's also stability in you know, love and feelings for one another, and
Yeah.
a bond, you know, between partners, you know.
And I think that like that again, it kind of goes into one of our fundamental differences that I think that once we figure out how to get to the same page could really be a great balance, because you're
think
like,
that
you
there
can't
will
fix
be.
everything with money. And in my mind, I'm like, you can't fix everything with love.
Yeah.
So I think that if we really figure out, no matter how many painstaking hours it takes, you know, if we're able to figure it out, I think that we could really figure it out.
Yeah, I totally agree. You know, I think that's why, you know, I haven't given up, you know, like we've had conversations and arguments for the past 7 years, and we haven't given up on it for a reason, you know what I mean? You know, I think that we really do both believe in this relationship, and I think it's the realest relationship that either one of us have ever had.
Yeah.
To the point where we do see this being a forever thing. Like, so we're going to have these conversations and arguments, and we're going to prepare for this to be forever, you know, and to prepare yeah, like you know, to prepare for this to be forever, like you have to prepare for things like getting a house, like having kids, getting married. You know, you have to prepare for all these things. You know, and you're going to require things, I'm going to require things. And we just have to like do our best to kind of meet each other in the middle of requirements. And that's where I think that we will find that balance of, you know, our core values and of what you feel is important, what I feel is important, and we can kind of work off each other in that way.
Yeah, I think it's you know, talking about balance, and I know I have to sneeze. I'm so sick of these allergies. I think it's because you're taking the cat hair and you're throwing it into the air. Wait.
Sorry, I was trying to grab
It's
it.
okay. Oh my god.
Bless you.
Oh, that cleared up my sinuses though. Like now I can like breathe through my nose. Runny nose. Okay. I'm about to sneeze again, but I'll do it later. Unless I have to do it now.
Don't sneeze. Don't
This is the controlling thing I was talking about.
Don't sneeze. Don't sneeze. Watch, she won't sneeze. Don't sneeze.
You psyched me out. Thank you.
Yeah, she won't sneeze.
And so like just going back to you talking about balance and the way that you just iterated it. I was watching this TED Talk this morning, and one of the things she said was whatever's going on in your relationship is probably deeper than your partner, and that it's probably some level of like projecting or whatever. And she said that she calls this thing ABBA. And I thought that this was very useful, actually. And I was like, okay, I'm not going to go out without a fight. Like, we're going to go to therapy. I'm going to watch some TED Talks. I'm going to figure this shit out. And so she was like, it's ABBA. And she said, it's anything but anger. And that's how you should communicate with your partner. Because you know me, like, I'll let you tell them how I
You're like Eba.
What's
oh, no, wait.
Everything but anger. Nice try. You tried
I know.
You tried to make me look like an asshole, but you ended up looking like a dummy.
Yeah.
I was gonna say NWA, but then that's like a rap group because I was gonna say nothing without anger.
Oh, nothing without anger.
You know, and then it's like niggas with attitudes, which I also have.
Yeah, we're not gonna call it that.
Which I also have.
Yeah.
But she calls it ABBA, anything but anger, and like that's how you talk to your partner. And then she said that when you're having a difficult time, talk to your partner and say, or ask them what's beneath your anger. And I really liked that. I was like, what an interesting thing, because I'm not very good at being vulnerable. Like, I almost never tell people when my feelings are hurt ever, because I have a lot of childhood trauma.
That's what I was going to say. Like, I think I'm pretty sure like where most of this trauma comes from.
Trauma or things beneath my anger.
Things beneath the anger, it's basically what you just explained. Is like kind of seeing your parents going through that divorce, going through the financial things that they went through, going through situations where you came home to your home, and can I talk about that?
Yeah.
And having your dad's partner take everything, and literally you came home to what was your like fully furnished home to like just it being an empty home.
Yeah.
Like you've literally seen things like swept out from under you, and so I totally understand like your fear that you have,
Yeah.
But I also don't want to be not even critiqued by, but I don't want to be kind of the soundboard for that trauma in a way. Like, I don't want you to project. I don't want to constantly have you projecting that onto me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because then obviously I get frustrated by it, or I'll, it doesn't always come out. It comes out as anger, like
me?
The trauma will come out as anger, and almost like belittling as well, and so it's like, I don't want to be the victim of, that
somebody else's like transgressions.
Yeah. To a certain point, you know what I mean? Like, it's like, I can understand it. If we're in an argument and there's like a sensitive topic and it triggers something like that, but I just don't want that to be a constant issue. Like, I feel like we were saying about, like, I need to go to therapy. I think you need to go to therapy too.
Yeah. And
we can both resolve these situations that get us to a point of frustration and can help combat that, for the sake of one another.
I agree. And, the anything but anger thing is hard for me, because growing up, I really absorbed and perceived that you get fucked with less when you're angry, or you are able to maintain the power when you're not the one that's vulnerable. And, like, the way that I have been treated by a lot of my family members and things growing up.
Mhm.
I made it a point to be like, I'm never gonna let that happen to me again. So now whenever I feel like I'm crossed, I am quick.
Yeah.
I am quick because it's
You're
just like
sensitive to things.
I'm super sensitive,
Mhm.
but I will never let people know that my feelings are hurt.
Mhm.
I will just display anger because
Yeah.
it's just like I'm not gonna let you get the best of
You
me.
cover it up with anger.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
that's definitely an issue that I have, and something that's been an issue in this relationship and other relationships in my life, not just like with romantic partners, because I take having my feelings hurt very, very personally. I just act like I don't,
Yeah.
and it's almost like I'm gonna get your ass, like kind
Mhm.
of.
And the thing is, like, if you learn to let things go and let things just slide right by
Yeah.
you, go over your head, you don't even have to like worry about being slighted or
Mhm.
somebody saying something to you, because it's like at the end of the day, like if somebody's trying to put you down, like that's on them. You know what I mean?
I
Like
can
that's
almost never let
something
things
clear. Yeah, that's something clearly wrong with the other
Yeah.
person. So it's like once you come to that understanding, because I feel like I've come like that's the understanding with me now at this point, is like if somebody's doing something weird or, you know, just being a shitty person, whatever, like that's on them. You know what I mean? And that has nothing to do with me.
I love that about you, because if somebody's like being shitty to me, I think that deep down, I don't think I've ever said this out loud before, but deep down, I get super defensive,
Mm-hmm.
because the last thing I want to ever let somebody do is make me feel small
Yeah.
and make me feel insignificant. And you know, I've told you this. Now I'm telling whoever's watching this podcast. It could be going out into the ether. Who knows? But I used to be bullied by one of my aunts. Like every time she saw me, it was a problem.
Mm-hmm.
And she used to not physically push me around. There was one time I was walking in a store and she was pissed off because, like, I don't know, we had gone on some trip and I didn't tell them I had money, but it wasn't that I was hiding the money. I just didn't think to mention it. Like, you guys said you were going to pay for everything.
Something you shouldn't be upset with, like
Right.
a child. Over,
and so I had been wearing this nasty shirt because I think it was like a road trip thing. I think we went to Florida with her, my cousins, my brother, whatever. And I was wearing this really nasty shirt because I was just eating all weekend. There was all kinds of stains on it. And so I had gone into like a CVS or a Walgreens or something like that. And they were in there too. And they were, she was like, oh, so you do have money on this trip? And so she was like, oh, so you do have money? Can't believe you're so secretive, blah, 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 blah. And I was like, what?
Like,
you guys didn't
what?
ask for me to give you
Yeah.
money. Every time I wanted a churro, you bought me a churro, you know?
Yeah.
And I remember like walking in the CVS and she was so pissed. She was fuming, just steaming right towards me.
Mhm.
And she went like this, like trying to hit me. And I'm like
Try to
12.
check
Yeah,
a
she tried to check
12-year-old.
me.
Yeah.
I was like 12, maybe 11.
Crazy.
And I moved out of the way by like this much. She missed me.
Mhm.
And that always just been burned into my mind and always like setting me up to make me look like a liar. Like she told me to steal my stepsister's Harry Potter books. And then when my stepsister came looking for the Harry Potter books, she told me to lie. Like I didn't know where they were.
Mhm.
And then my stepsister tried to pick me up from her house one time. And then she was like, she didn't tell you that she stole your Harry Potter books. She's a liar. She's a thief. She's all these things. And she would really make me feel so incredibly small.
Mhm.
And then when I would tell other people about it in my family, no one would listen to me. Everybody thought I was lying or that I was crazy because of this huge divorce situation with my mom.
Mhm.
So nobody liked my mom. And because of that, the opposite side of the family would kind of trash me
Yeah.
in a lot of ways. And they would, I remember like
Trash your mom.
they would trash my mom. And I
Mhm.
remember like they would pick me up from school or whatever, and they'd be on the phone with so-and-so and they'd be like, yeah, she's selfish, she's this, she's that, like talking about my mom so clearly. And then they would hang up and then they would look at me in the rearview mirror and be like, you're just like your mom. And my mom is a wonderful,
She's amazing.
she's the
She's,
fucking best
like
mom.
amazing. Yeah. But that's the thing is like, that's kind of what I was saying before. Like that is a traumatized person. That's like a person with deep, deep issues who is saying these types of things to a child. You know what I mean? Like, and they have.
Yeah. But the hard part for me was like dealing with it
Yeah.
and feeling like, okay, I got to stick up for myself. I got to stick up for myself. I got to stick up for myself. Today's going to be the day. From like age like 8 to like 15. Every day was the day. It was like, oh, today's going to be the day. I'm going to stick up for myself today. If she says something to me, I'm going to do it. 13 came around, 10 came around, 11 came around, 12 came around, 13 came around. You know what I mean? And every single time I was around her, I'd be like, today's the day I'm going to stick up for myself. And more than being angry at her, like I hated her, you know?
Yeah.
But more than being angry at her, I absolutely resented myself because I let that happen to me at the end of the day. And so because of that, I like have this chip on my shoulder where I'm like, nobody gonna talk to me crazy. Nobody gonna make me feel small. Nobody gonna say no crazy shit to me because I'm big now.
Yeah.
You know, I'm big now. I'm tough now. Like, you know, when I was 16, I used to wish that she would put her hands on me so I could rock her.
Yeah.
You know, I really wish. And I'm sure she's going through a transitional period now and everybody's like, forgive. And it's just kind of like, I don't feel like I harbor honestly as much hatred. And I probably kind of got rid of it, not rid of it, but like have mitigated it over the last 2 years.
Because now you're an adult and you can be like,
I'm killing it.
You're killing it, but also you're like thinking like you're trying to get into her mindset in that time. And you're like, why the fuck would she talk to a child like that? Like, why would she be so resentful? But it's like not her mindset, but you're comparing yours to hers in a way of like, you shouldn't hold, you know, you shouldn't feel so bad about yourself when you were like 12 because you were a child. You're not supposed to have to stick up for yourself to aunts and uncles or to family members or to any adult. You should never be put in a situation where you have to be the one that is sticking up to an adult like that.
Yeah.
You know, and so you can't be so hard on yourself because that would be like, that's like impossible for any 12-year-old or any 13-year-old to even fully understand or comprehend what is happening in that situation. You know what I mean? Like,
and I think that like these experiences that I've had and, you know, not being like believed or listened to, really affected my sensitivity to having my feelings hurt, as well as my sensitivity to what I assume love is, because it's like, these people are supposed to love me. Why are they treating me so bad? You know, I've never done anything, and anything that I said, like I didn't mean it the way that it was taken, a lot of the times. And I think that it's funny because, like, you know how people say like, oh, you carry a torch for this person that you used to date. I really carry a torch around me, I think almost every day, for the parts of myself in my childhood that I like resent. Yeah. Because I always felt like I should have been tougher. Like I should have been more like.
No, you were a kid.
I should have been more brave. That's the thing. Bravery and weakness and feeling like.
You were a kid. You should have been a kid.
Yeah.
You don't have to be you don't have to be brave. You're literally a weak child. You know what I mean? Like you're literally like, you're not developed. You know what I mean? Like you're not developed physically, you're not developed mentally. So it's just not a fair fight against like a fucking 40-year-old woman. It's not, it's never going to be a fair fight between a 40-year-old and a 12-year-old. You know what I mean? So it's like, she's not fighting fair. Yeah. She's the one who's projecting onto a 12-year-old, you know, like she's in the wrong. You're not in the wrong.
Yeah. Just,
you know, like,
well, being told that you're in the wrong the whole time when you're trying to tell people like, hey, this is happening to me, you know, and because my parents were divorced, my mom, you know, it was like a Wednesdays and every other weekend thing with my parents. And so I wasn't with my mom when these things are happening, but I just never felt like listened to or believed, because everybody had this perception that my mom was a liar, and that spilled right over onto me. And I think that these things influence a lot of how I experience every day, like our relationship,
definitely,
like
out in the world.
out in the world in traffic.
Yeah.
Like somebody tries to get over in front of me and try, oh, not in front of me. It's not even
Yeah.
that big of a deal. It's just like they're
I know.
trying to get over in traffic. But I always like kind of feel like I'm carrying this chip on my shoulder because I refuse to let somebody take advantage of me.
Mhm.
And so sometimes like to bring
Yeah.
it back to our relationship, when I feel like I'm trying so hard to like move us to another page and I feel like there's resistance, I think that deep down, going back to the TED Talk too, like what's beneath the anger is fear that I'm being taken advantage of.
Yeah.
And that I'm not defending myself, and that I'm being weak, and I'm not being brave,
Mhm.
and that I'm pathetic, and that I'm a loser, and that like I'm gonna let the world walk all over me. And those, I hate the word trigger sometimes because it's just like everybody uses it, but those are
Definite triggers. Yeah.
yeah, for me.
Yeah. And, like, I think that I can be the type to like, I'm not performing to my full capacity. So you kind of swoop in and you're like, okay, you know what? Let me just take care of it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because you're very much that type of personality. And I'm the type of personality where I can get comfortable in situations and I can like not like just utilize my full potential in those things. And you take that exactly what you said of like, I'm taking you for granted and I'm just not performing because I feel like you'll just take care of it. You know what I mean? And you feel used in that way.
And that affects me because like growing up, like being bullied in that way, I always felt like I have to do it myself.
Yeah.
And I always, like more than anything, like wanted somebody to like do it for me.
Yeah.
And like,
and I think I do things for you
yeah,
as
you
well.
you do.
I
I'm
think
just saying that like
it's
you do things for me. It's just that like when I feel like I'm asking for something and then like it's not being provided to me, it feels like move over, I'll do it myself because nobody's gonna have my back. And that stems from being treated that way like as a kid. And obviously there are kids who were definitely treated worse, but like sorry, for me that was really hard. And I remember all the time like just wishing somebody would like do something or intervene or save me.
Yeah.
I always like wanted to be saved. And so sometimes like when I'm asking you to do something and I feel like I'm being faced with a lot of resistance, it feels like I have to do it myself. And it feels like I'm never going to be saved.
Well, I think there can also be times of I think you can be quick to judge situations and you can be harsh on things. And, that demeanor of like, move out of the way, I'll do it, sometimes comes quicker than, like most people's reaction would be to that. You know what I mean? Because it is sometimes hard to kind of take the wheel at times when you feel like you're like a driver in the Indy 500 and you can drive anywhere you want, at any time.
Yeah.
And you can drive the straightest in any lane,
Yeah.
So it can be hard because I like some, and I think that some people may feel this way when they've like worked with you as well.
Yeah.
Of like, well, like I'd like to take the wheel, but I mean, I don't know if like I'll drive the car as like how she wants me to drive the car, or, you start to overthink your judgments onto people, or you start to overthink like, will it be good enough or will I be good enough? And I don't really want to have that harsh judgment,
I find that to be like, I mean, maybe that's like a topic for another day, but I think that my biggest fears in life are not living up to whatever my expectations are of my own self and then that of my parents. And they don't really have high expectations for me. I just don't want to disappoint them. Like my parents and my brothers, I don't want to disappoint them. And even like in my work environment, I've had people recently say like, I want to live up to your expectation. And that hurts me because I don't realize that I'm doing that to people, forcing them or making them feel like somehow they have to live up to a certain expectation of what I have inadvertently communicated. And I don't want the people that I work with feeling that way. And I mean, the people that I work with, like, they love me. You know what I mean? They always say like, oh, I love working with you. You know, working with you is amazing, whatever. And I really appreciate that. But I also like want to be able to empower my team without ever making them question themselves. And that's just something I have to work on, and you as well.
We've had those conversations though of like, sometimes it can be hard for you to find people's strengths if they're not the same exact strengths that you have, because you know, you have your strengths, but you also have your weaknesses, you know, and you have to realize that not everybody has the same strengths.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean that they're useless.
Yeah.
You know? And I think that's kind of a metaphor for our relationship as well. You know, like, I'm not going to have the same strengths as you. But I'm also not going to have the same weaknesses as you.
Yeah.
And we need to find a balance between our strengths, you know? And I think we will.
And we've committed to doing so.
We've committed. So I think that's a good place to end this.
You're done.
Well, just like, I think that this is a good amount of time.
Yeah, I agree.
Well, you can watch the rest behind the paywall.
Behind the paywall.
Just
Yeah,
kidding.
yeah.
Not
We don't
yet.
have one of those
Not yet, but
you guys
we
can
will.
watch all of this free, emotionally vulnerable content for free.
Yeah, so soak it up while it's free.
Soak it up
It's
while
not
it's
always
free.
going to be free.
Yeah.
There will be a paywall at
There
some
will
point.
be a paywall.
We need to make some money off this.
Yeah.
But
Y'all think that y'all about to get all of these emotions for the frisky? Oh.
Yeah.
Right.
Or this cuteness. Look at this.
Look at this freaking chonk. Look at the mook.
Look at that.
This is anyway, we never really introduced ourselves to anybody that doesn't know us. I'm Grant.
I'm Grant.
I'm Grant.
I'm Grant. This is Asia.
Okay, I was trying to make it cute. Like, I'm Grant. This is Asia.
That's what I just said.
No. Oh, yeah. But like, I say, I'm Grant.
And I say, I'm Asia?
Yeah. I'm
That's
Grant.
confusing. I'm Grant. This is Asia. And we're hanging out forever.
Do you think I got too vulnerable?
No.
I was crying.
I know. That's
that-
good stuff.
Yeah. Is it stupid to cry?
No. How do you feel? I feel good.
Weak.
How do you feel?
I feel good.
Well, you feel good about the conversation that we
I
had
feel
and
really
stuff?
great about our conversation. Do you feel like you were being attacked?
No.
Really?
Mm-hmm. I think
Good.
we're open. We're good. I think it's good that because I think you kind of have like a filter because the cameras.
You think so?
Kind of, yeah. Like I think the
don't feel like
cameras
that.
work as a filter. It's like because you even like you said, like, did you feel attacked? You know, like you're like, I don't want to push too hard because I
Well,
don't
it's
wanna
not because of
come
the
off.
cameras. It's because of you.
I know, but
And we're
I'm
trying
just
to fix
saying-
things.
I know, but I'm also just saying, like, I think they kind of work as a little filter because you don't want to, push too much.
What you mean?
No.
Yeah.
Let's go.